Hello, Welsh Voice Focus, as we welcome a special guest to the show and a man who's played more than 200 games in the Garibaldi Reds, loved by Nottingham Forest fans and hated by fans of every other Premier League team. It's great to have Ryan Yates with us this evening. Ryan, good to have you with us. Thanks for doing this. How are you today?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to chatting football.
Yes, yeah, looking forward to it very much indeed. We'll come on to opposition fans in a bit, don't worry about that. But it feels like good timing to have you on. I was thinking about games we played this season, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Chelsea. You've made big impacts in all of them. Do you feel kind of at your peak? Is this, the best form you've been in your career, would you say, or not?
Oh, that's a good question. To be honest, I feel really confident. I'd say this season, I feel like it's the most I've been impacting games since we've been in the Premier League. I feel like I'm still improving game on game. I feel like there's more to come as always, but no, I'm feeling really good and really confident.
The Bournemouth game in particular, when you came on it for Danilo after that terrible injury, it felt like you played a slightly different role in the sense you carried the ball quite a lot. I don't know if that was a deliberate thing. Well, on the podcast we were saying it showed that, I don't know if evolution's the right word, but your game's changing and getting different. Do you feel kind of like you are evolving alongside the club when you think of how much change has been at the club in the last 3 years as well?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think someone who really analyses where I can improve. And I think this summer I identified certain things that the top midfielders in the Prem and in the top leagues are doing, and I need to be doing more of. I think there's areas where I really, really excel, and somewhere I fall short, and I want to make sure that they become strengths as well. And ball carrying, which you identified, is one with the analysts that we've really been working on.
Is it? I don't know if you take stock of things. Well, I mentioned how much things have changed in the last 3 years, and if you go back to Wembley, maybe you don't force Levi Colwill to put the ball in the net. Maybe Brees doesn't have the night of all nights against Sheffield United.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like sliding doors moments. When you're in the thick of the battle as you are now, do you ever take stock and think, God, how different things might have been?
Occasionally, I do. I do honestly believe that you need a little bit of luck in football, but the more you can force that luck, the better. Like that example, if I don't gamble and go into the box, does he turn the ball into his own net? Probably not. But I think you'd be naive to say you don't need that little bit of luck. But the harder you work, the luckier you get. So that's what I like to stick by.
I wanted to ask you about challenges, really. It feels like because you come up through the ranks, you've played in every league. And when we get promoted to the Premier League, we sign better players. And, I don't mind saying at the start of this season, we did our season previews, and a lot of us said, well, Yates is probably going to, not start as many games, come off the bench more. There's more players coming in, Sangare's fit and firing, Danilo, Dominguez, and Ward-Prowse ultimately comes in. How do you view the challenges of good players coming in and people questioning if there's still a place for you?
I honestly, I don't really care, to be honest. If anything, I just take motivation from it, and I just think, what an opportunity they're gonna. I've said this many times. They're gonna make me a better player. I can take things I see from them every day. Ward-Prowse, for example, is such a top lad, a fantastic footballer with so much more Premier League experience from me. To not look at that in a positive is, I think, would just be silly and a missed opportunity. And like I say, I just keep there's always a ceiling to me, that people say, and I just keep going through it, and I thrive on that. I absolutely love it, and I want to continue to do it. And the sky's the limit, I think. That's how I like to see things, and I think it just excites me that the club's progressing. And there's Alexa. Did you hear that?
Yeah, don't worry.
And I think it's just really exciting that, like I say, that the club's progressing, and I feel like I'm progressing as well. So it's just really exciting, and just loving it.
I'm going to contradict myself with the next question, because the first one I'm saying, people were saying you might not be in the team this season. Now I'm going to ask if you ever dream of playing for England after it's been mooted by a few fans on the back of, going up against World Cup winners. Do you ever dream about that, or is that a dangerous mindset to get into?
Oh yeah, that's always the goal of what I think. Whatever country you play in, every young boy's dream is to play for their country. And I feel like I'm one of them who I love to dream big. I think for me it excites me, things like that. But a dream was to play for Forest, and a dream was to play in the Premier League. And it's my third season, and I'm playing some really good football, influencing games. Thinking of England, when I was just thinking about Forest when I was younger was a pipe dream, and and it's the same. It's the same concept, really. And yeah, I definitely dream about it, but I know there's work to be done.
You're going up against, I mentioned World Cup winners there. You go to Anfield and it's you versus McAllister. You go to Stamford Bridge and it's you versus Fernandes. Two questions. Do you deliberately put yourself on those players because it felt like you did and you had a good battle with them? And what's your mindset going into those games when you look at it and think, well, this guy's won the World Cup, and in Fernandes' case, this guy cost 100 million as well?
I honestly don't. As much as people say like I go after these guys, I really don't. They obviously, a lot of the good players, experienced players, do play in midfield, and I feel players like that, if the likes of Bruno Fernandes, etc., McAllister, if you let them play the game they want, then they're incredibly good, and that's why they're at the top teams. And I feel like that's one of my strengths, to really disrupt that and not let the players who dictate the game, let them do their thing, because it's difficult to stop once they get confident, once they've really eased themselves into the game. But it's nothing. I don't deliberately think, right, I'm going after McAllister, or like after 20 seconds I've like fouled Fernandes, and it's a Chelsea game. It's not, that could have been anyone. But it was him, and but it's like I say, it's nothing. I'm really, I think the more games I've played, the more I just focus on what I can bring, not particularly too much on opposition players and thinking about them too much. I just think about how I can influence the game and have that positive mindset of myself.
So it doesn't. I was going to ask then, would you rather play better players? But then what you're saying there, you think it doesn't kind of matter.
I just think if you think about who you're playing against too much, the margins are so fine between the so-called sort of good players, the World Cup winners, and players who play sort of in the bottom half of the table. The margins are so fine, so I think it's just a case of just focusing on myself. I think we do a lot of sort of analysing the team and how we can, their strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So for myself, just looking at where I can improve and affect the game as much as possible.
The other thing I wanted to ask about your game mostly was, I mentioned opposition fans disliking you. I mean, I don't recommend any footballer searches their name on Twitter, especially with some of our fans in previous years. But in terms of opposition fans, if you type in Ryan Yates and a word beginning with C after any away game, it's mentioned quite a lot. It's quite funny. Do you kind of enjoy that, winding other teams' supporters up?
I honestly, I don't. I just think it's just been happening. Obviously, you see things and you get sent things by friends and family members and stuff, but I kind of take it with a pinch of salt. It's nothing. If our fans get a kick out of it, then that's great. I love that. If it's entertainment for them, but it's nothing that I go out and try to do. But I feel like it's definitely been helping us in certain away games. Just generally just disrupting the rhythm of the play of the top teams. And it's not just me. I sort of get highlighted for it a lot, but I think we've got some quite clever players who go under the radar who do like to wind the opposition up a little bit. And I think that's the sort of the dark arts, as people say. I think it's a huge strength, which probably doesn't get spoken about too much because it's not kind of sexy or Like people say. But yeah, I think it's very important for the good teams.
Why is the away form so good? We'll come on to home form. Why is the away form so good after you struggled when you came up into the Premier League? There's been a big switch. Why do you think that is?
It's a good question. I couldn't put my finger on one thing to why it has changed so dramatically, especially since our first season. Maybe I think we've just got a lot of good, experienced players who are at the club, who've played games in the Premier League, and I think under Nuno, we are just really, really solid, compact. Every single player knows their job. The players coming off the bench have been absolutely fantastic away from home in terms of just their work rate for the team, the desire to hold on for the result or just give us that spark we needed. And like I say, we are early on in the season. So time will tell if we can keep that up. But I think we're showing good signs of just being a really solid, compact unit away from home against some good sides. But I think there's more to come.
There's a couple of things there I'll ask you about. I'm not denigrating benches in previous seasons, but when you look at Jota's come off the bench, Sosa, they combine for a goal at Brighton. Now games, it feels like they last 110 minutes sometimes. Obviously they did at Chelsea. How big a difference does that make, having players, including yourself at Brighton, to come off the bench and contribute in that way?
I think it just you can have great players on the bench, but it's when they're not sulking and they are so ready to play that game at any given moment. I can honestly say that I've not been in a team where I've had probably every single player on the bench itching to get on the pitch and help the team. And I just think that's credit to the lads' personalities. And yeah, I just think they're the sorts of things that people don't recognise so much, that shows you what a strong together squad we've got. Because for me, when you're playing as a player, you're so happy. You're just not carefree, but when things are going well and you're playing, it's happy days. But I think it's real testament to the guys, coming off the bench and making an impact week on week. And when they're making an impact, maybe not getting the start the week after, that's even more difficult to do, Will. But keeping the head up and continuing to be effective, whatever minutes people are getting, I think it's a massive strength of the team.
Obviously, it seems like a really good group. What's your role in it, do you think? Especially now Joe's gone and Brennan's gone, you're sort of the last man standing in a way of the academy players who've broken into the first team. Do you feel an extra responsibility in that way as well?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I think it's not completely down like on my shoulders. I think we've got some really, really experienced players in the dressing room. We have a leadership group. And if I'm honest, I think like I said previously, we've kept the core of the team together, which was absolutely massive from pre-season. The manager's been able to implement things which he probably didn't have time to last season. And I think we've just got a really together group. So I do take the responsibility on, and I try to improve, the sort of the culture side of the club. And that includes sort of like the staff and things like that. Because I think it's not just, the 11 players who start and the 5 who come on are obviously, it's all down to that and the results. But I think it's a whole togetherness of the whole, Nottingham Forest, everyone who represents the club, what the club's about. And for me, I think it's driving them standards every single day to make the club better. Because if you've got staff members who are giving that extra 1 or 2%, I think it really helps the lads perform and be at their best.
The other thing I was going to ask you about from your answer before was about experience. I'm going back a couple of years now, obviously, but when you stepped onto the Premier League pitch for the first time, did you come off it after the first couple of games, especially Newcastle away, thinking, God, this is a bigger step up than I thought it might have been?
I'm trying to think of my first start. Who was it? It wasn't Newcastle. I was injured. Who was it? It might have been. I think I came on against Everton, and then I played against.
Well,
I can't
Bournemouth and
remember.
Fulham at home. If you played in
Oh
those,
yeah.
were
Oh
painful.
wow. Yeah. I actually saw we got beat 3-2, 3-2 to them. Yeah. I think you notice it straight away, to be honest. Especially when you go away to the likes of City. When we went to Old Trafford, I just remember thinking, wow, that this level is really, really top. Even out of possession, which I thought was a real strong point of mine in the Championship, was like, I was thinking, wow, I'm a little bit off it. And that's not even starting to dictate games with the ball and, trying to pop up with a few goals. But yeah, it comes with experience. Obviously, third season now, and I'd like to think I've come a long way in that time.
Oh, that was the Haaland game, wasn't it? I remember. You bring back some interesting memories. Obviously, it's great at the moment, but
when he
just
got
bear
a
with.
hat trick and got subbed at half time. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've had some great days since then. Don't worry.
Oh,
Right. Just give me 10 seconds to say a thank you to our sponsors of Trent Navigation. Ryan and the team will go to Leicester on the 25th of October, next Friday. Happy hour drinks all night, 30% off lagers, chippy tea till 9 p.m. All dishes £8.50. You can get barbecue and pizza from the courtyard. Right. Thank you very much to the Nav. I wanted to talk as well. Home form was the other thing in general. I don't know. I can't ask what's gone wrong at home because it's a new season. But you played 3 matches you might have looked at and thought, well, we could have won. I mean, you probably could have won all of them, really. But I suppose what's gone wrong is the question. But is it an unfair question in a way as well?
What's gone wrong? It's difficult. As I said earlier, it is such fine margins. I think this season, and like I said, I'm saying all this, but we haven't even, the warm up of the season's only just finished. I feel like we're really getting into it now and over the Christmas period. But from what's happened so far, I just think we've really sort of got an identity away from home. We've got some really big results early in the season away from home. And I think we've got really good confidence from the way we're playing. And at home, because we haven't got that win yet, we're a little bit tentative and sort of have a little bit of the same mentality that we do when we go away from home. And I think we need to be a little bit more, I don't know if positive's the right word, because I think we are, and I think the crowd are really behind us, as they always are. But I just think we need to just sometimes just let the shackles off and just give it a right go, and just have that belief that we've got the quality. If the game opens up and gets stretched, let's just have it out, and we're at home. Let's just go toe to toe with people, and I think just having a little bit of a change of attitude. I think certainly not at the start of games, because I think all the messaging from the manager and everybody is we're going to win this game regardless of who we're playing. But just during them tough moments in the games, just completely backing ourselves and knowing everyone's behind each other, the crowd are going to back us regardless of the result, and just having that positive mentality more than ever.
One of the things we discussed on Monday's show at length was about the next 4 fixtures, 3 at home, Leicester away. We were kind of saying, oh, this might decide the direction of the season. Do you subscribe to that? And have you discussed that as a group, or are you very much one game at a time?
We are one game at a time. We haven't discussed it. I don't really think so. I think we just, like I say, we're just going to attack each game as it comes. And in the Prem, I just find you think with all the good managers and teams and players, you think, oh man, this is a bit of a banker at home, and suddenly I know where it's a completely different game than what you thought. They've gone with the different players, different tactics, everything, and you're a little bit like, oh, or we might go with something totally different for a certain game, and yeah, it's like I say, it's them fine margins, and I wouldn't say the next few games define our season, because I feel like we've got the quality where, we could go on a fantastic run at any point. Having beat sort of Liverpool away from home at Anfield when, they've not lost. I don't know what the stats were, but I think they were ridiculous for their win rate and stuff like that. So I feel like it's not going to define us. Whatever happens, even if we win the next 4, I think the Premier League is so cutthroat. A few injuries here or there, or we go on a run, or it's just, yeah.
Palace at home next. There's suddenly quite a lot of noise around the game after stuff today. Morgan was probably injured, but he's got a suspension. Nuno's got a touchline ban. The owner's got a stadium ban. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of noise when the Premier League anthem plays. It's going to be interesting. How do you view the game personally? Do you have to shut that out and forget about it?
Yeah. Just speaking on behalf of myself, I cannot affect, or the rest of the lads can't affect what bans and things that have gone on in the past or have happened. We can't affect that. We just have to put all our energy into being the best we can be, fully focused on the game plan as always, and just going to enjoy playing the first game under the lights in the Prem at the City Ground. And I think it's sort of as simple as that. I think we've got a lot of experience, so we've got a lot of leaders. I think the assistant coach Rui's class, and is a huge voice around the dressing room and around the building. So I'm sure we're going to be absolutely fine.
Is the lights of the City Ground thing a myth, or is it real then, from a player's point of view?
Oh, it's real. It's real for sure. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I do love a 12:30 kickoff, but
why?
I don't know. I just do. I just think there's always an early goal in the 12:30 kickoff. So I'm like, oh, it could be me.
Oh dear.
But the under the lights is, I just think the crowd there's just a bit more anticipation, maybe because everyone's like been at work and they're looking forward to the game. It's a bit of a treat, I think, under the lights. Like the game tonight, Leeds, Sheffield United. You just know it's going to be spicy, just because it's 8 o'clock kickoff on Sky. Yeah, there's just something special about certain night games at certain grounds, for sure.
Do you watch? This is a bit of a tangent. Do you watch loads of football then? And do you watch Championship football? Because this sounds a bit snobby. I've disengaged from the Championship quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Leeds, Sheffield United. I watch. Yeah, that just seems like a good game. Good, two passionate sets of fans. But yeah, I do watch a lot of football. I love it, to be fair. The lads will say like I'm a bit obsessed. But yeah, I do love watching it, to be fair. Yeah.
What about Palace's opponents, Yatesy? They've not won yet. How do you feel about them?
They obviously haven't had the best of starts to the season. However, when I have watched their games, they've always been really in it, and probably unlucky not to get. I think it can be, especially this sort of early on in the season, the league table can be a little bit false for certain teams. And I just know they're an extremely dangerous team, with some outstanding individual players. Obvious players who are very, very good. Obviously, Dean Henderson plays in goals for him. Started for England the other night. He's like a good friend. Really got on with him. A very dangerous team against another good team. So it's going to be a good game, I think.
You've got to go in a few minutes. You've got another interview, so I'm going to throw some quick fire questions at you.
Okay.
Hopefully, you've probably had some of them before, but probably not all of them. Why do you wear 22? Has it become a superstition that you have to have it all the time now as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, my first loan at Barrow, I sort of went in unexpected on like the Thursday or something, and then I got my first number was 22, and I just remember they'd ripped the name off the back of someone else's shirt who just left, and it had a number underneath. Like you could see, or like faintly, it had that Yates 22 over it. And I just remember thinking, that is my number now. and I've always, every place I've gone, I've tried to get it. It hasn't always been available, but yeah, I love it. I would not change 22 now. I love it.
Not even for a 1 to 11 number. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, I guess, in that sense.
I'll be honest. I have had the opportunity a couple of times, but no, I think it's special. I think it's special having. If I'd have got the number 8 shirt straight away or the number 4 or something, I'd have just been like, yeah, I'll just crack on. But because I got the 22, and you know what, Aitor Karanka gave me. So I was 44, and then. Just by coincidence, Aitor Karanka just doing the squad numbers, and he just gave me number 22, and I thought, well, it's just fate. He didn't have a clue, obviously. He didn't look at, he was 22 at Barrow. We'll give him that. I just think it just happened, and yeah, it's nice.
Let me throw a few more quick fire ones at you. Who's the toughest opponent you face? That could be quality, or they've kicked you about the pitch.
Obvious ones are De Bruyne, Rodri. The first time I went to the Etihad, it was like Rodri, De Bruyne. I think De Bruyne came off the bench actually, and he was ridiculous. Bernardo Silva. Just to name a few. I think Declan Rice is just so consistent, so reliable. We'll go then.
What's the first fixture, apart from the opening day, what's the first fixture you look for when they come out?
Boxing Day. It's my dad's birthday. So.
Okay. I can't remember who it is on Boxing Day.
To Spurs, unless they've changed it.
No, I think they might move the kickoff time. I can't. Yeah, you might be right there. I'm not sure. What's your favourite other sport apart from football?
I'm enjoying my golf at the minute, actually.
Very good. Lewis McGugan, who does this show, absolutely loves his golf as well. Must be a footballer thing. Long away trip. How do you pass the time on a team bus?
We've got a lot of, like 4 or 5 of us who play cards at the back of the bus, so passes the time nicely.
This is why we've had a lot of signings that come in. Can you recall any top initiation songs? Who's done really well?
You know what? We were in Spain for pre-season, and we went to a restaurant, and a few of the lads were getting up, and I just remember Carlos Miguel's was unexpectedly really good. He had everyone with the tea towels above their head and stuff. It was, that one comes to mind.
Last question. Regular viewers of this show will know that any guest that comes on where I mention a pizza in an advert, I ask every guest what their favourite pizza is. So last question. Ryan Yates, what is your favourite pizza?
What is my favourite pizza?
You didn't think you'd get asked that tonight, did you?
I didn't. I mix it up, to be fair. But if I had to just choose one, I'd just go with the Mighty Meaty. Just have everything on it. Fold it up. Bash.
Excellent. Right, we've got to let Ryan go, but if you have enjoyed this, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe, become a channel member, give us a lovely review. All that stuff would be fantastic. Ryan, thank you very much for doing this on your time in your Friday night. You've got a lovely kitchen. That's one of my highlights. But we shall let you go. Good luck for Palace and good luck for the rest of the season. Thank you very much. Cheers, have a good day, everyone, and we shall see you soon.